So I'll probably sound horrible, and I may really stumble through this video because I have a little bit. I'm getting over a little bit of a cold. But this was a really pertinent topic, really something that I really thought that was weighing on me more heavily, and something that I really thought I needed to get out here into the ether, and maybe it reaches the right people that it should. I hope that you get something out of this video, and maybe it informs informs you going forward. So what is this video going to be about? Well, the recent topics. There've been a lot of things going on. It's been eventful, but particularly the past year has definitely been sort of a war of the sexes kind of discussion. A lot of that's been back and forth. Is it viable, or is it reasonable to expect to have a traditional woman, or these kind of things are being floated about? And I see from some ortho bros who are essentially taking women's side, and like, oh, all of you men are insufferable, blah blah blah, this kind of stuff. Dudes just suck, so therefore blah blah blah. Like, if you lift weights like me and go to whatever Orthodox church, become Orthodox, then all of a sudden women will flock to you, and that's the pinnacle of manhood, to be that way. And I entirely disagree, but just in general, the perspective that I have, and some of the tweets that I make, a lot of times people think it comes off like, oh well, you're just misogynist, you hate women. And it's not that I hate women. It's not that I'm misogynist. I mean, not that I need to defend myself from that. I don't care. I mean, what you call me. My perspective is simply that I'm holding women to some accountable standard. And because you hold women to an accountable standard, you're going to be called sacrilegious. You're going to be called a man, a he-man woman hater kind of thing, misogynist. You're going to be called all these kind of things because you simply speak the truth about what it is that female behavior is fallible as well as men's behavior. And I see this a lot. There's a lot of like pastors who will say, yep, they'll say, yep, women, don't need to, maybe you don't need to sleep around, but then there are men, you need to do X, like women just don't sleep outside of your marriage, but then it'll be men, you need to do X, Y, Z, blah, 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 all these 18 different things, right? And while I can agree that men need to hold themselves to a particular standard as well, I think that the discourse has gotten so far thrown out of whack that now that the point of that is that if you hold women to any standard, even that standard of like, hey, women, don't have sex outside of your marriage. There will be women who say, well, but he didn't provide my needs, and then of course, there will be those kind of like simp type pastors who will be like, well, I'm sorry, honey, we pray for your forgiveness and for his, or something like this. And so there's always going to be this sort of default in the current modern era, the current modern society, and the structure of the world that we live in is defaulted to thinking that the woman is always right. It's almost like the customer is always right, like in the commercial world, I go there and I throw a temper tantrum. Oh, the customer is always right. Give him whatever he wants. For instance, whenever I worked at Taco Bell, it was like, this guy comes in here and he lies about not getting tacos that he was ordered, but we have to give it to him because the customer's always right. That was the sort of solution to that problem. He might be lying. He might, and we can't necessarily verify what he's saying, but we won't tell him no because the customer's always right. Same goes for women and their particular behaviors. They can act however, be however, and do whatever. And at the end of the day, men are going to just have to accept this, and it's going to have to become their like, they have to deal with it. No matter how crazy this woman acts, no matter how all this kind of stuff happens, no matter how much she disrespects you or whatever, if you then check her on that, or you say, "Hey, wait a second, I'm a man. I have standards, and I have respectability about myself. I value myself, and I respect my personal self as well." Now, there's a degree to, like, hey, I need to be selfless for my family. I need to do certain things. Okay, well, maybe she needs my help, and I need to do something. Okay, I completely understand that, right? Completely understand. Hey, I need to fill the gaps where I'm needed, right? But when it's, hey, you must do X, Y, and Z, and you have to do this and that, this and that, and this and that, and then, it becomes comical. It's almost like it's like a cartoon effect. Like, you just keep stacking books on top of they're sort of that cartoon effect of, like, someone stacking books in the person's arms, and all of a sudden they just keep going up to the moon, like literally all the way up to the moon. That's kind of what the responsibility, and that's why the article that I wrote about men are being dealt more responsibility without authority. That's essentially what that boils down to, is that men are being piled on all this responsibility of, you have to accommodate everything that the woman is doing regardless, and you get nothing for it. Like, she doesn't have, like, oh, you did this for your wife. Well, she doesn't have to, support you in anything that you do. She doesn't have to do the things, provide for your needs, make sure your needs are met, right? She doesn't have to do that, any of that. That's the lack of accountability. She doesn't have to, well, guys just want their wives to sleep with them, and it's like, yeah, they do. They kind of expected that. That was kind of part of the deal. That's part of what this agreement was, right? And if you deny that, then it's not saying that's like a requirement this at this time every day. It's not like a contract like that. But I think that whenever you go into this sort of relationship and you have these expectations, there are some of those. It's like some of those expectations have to be met, and there are compromises to be made for sure, right? Like, there's not going to be anything that's perfect. There's going to be trade-offs. So, like, there are no solutions, right? There are no solutions. There are only trade-offs in this world. In the reality that we live in, you're going to have to make trade-offs in everything and everywhere that you go and everything that you do. But that being said, I do think that there is a lot more of there being required trade-offs on the man's side. He's compromising himself and degrading himself often in order to get nothing in return. And I think that's really disturbing that a man would sit there and constantly denigrate himself. The wife can make jokes about her husband, can do whatever she wants, kind of have him beholden to her will, and then it's nothing's up to him anymore. He just has to do as he's kind of told, and that's not a functioning relationship, and that's not a functioning society. But a lot of people will tell you that this is how it is. That's how you got to be. Dudes will reinforce it because, like, well, happy wife, happy life. Women will reinforce it because he needs to do what I say. And there's all kinds of different ways that it's just to subvert men and to tell them to shut up and deal with it. Similar to this post, I just want to read this post. and this is addressing some of the comments, I guess, probably made by myself, as well as, just in general about the sort of online right wing people who are more traditional. It says many men on the right want a female slave. Women should do this for me. Women should act this way to me. These are the men that will immediately cuck the AI sex bots. The AI will be their should. They will perceive the AI sex bot as their slave when in reality it's more of the opposite. But that won't matter. Just my opinion, of course. I could be way off, and of course this person is way off. They are way off because what they're doing is they're trying to say that a man saying that women should do something is a net negative, and therefore he's just going to find something that will do the should, and that's not at all what men want. Men want women to want to do good for them, right? Like I want my wife to want to do good things for me. Not necessarily. I don't want her. I don't want to make her, or I don't want there to be I don't want her to. She should act this way to me because I'll react and I'll do something violent or whatever. That's not a healthy relationship, and it's not something that's going to function and something that's going to last and be viable. What I want is, I want my wife to want to do the things that I want her to do, because it's both for, it's a mutual beneficial thing. Because if she's wanting to be supportive of me and wanting to do all these things for me, then I'll want to support her, and I'll want to. That's how typical relationships work. That's how functioning adult relationships work, and that's why it's so frustrating to me to see all these people who are absolutely and utterly retarded on these subjects and absolutely stupid. That they're saying all of this nonsense because they don't understand how relationships should function. And it's something that's so perverted about our world, so perverted about our modern day, that having a functional relationship where one person wants to do something for someone else that the other person wants them to do, doing something, this other person wants me to do something. Like, it's so funny because we do that for our jobs or whatever. The boss wants me to be in there at 7:30 in the morning. Well, are you going to be there at 7:30 in the morning? Well, they just want a slave. So let's just read this. I guess many men on the right want an employee slave. Employees should do this for me. Employees should act this way to me. And some employers act like that. And so what, right? Like, we don't think anything of it. We don't think anything about that when it comes to an employer or employee relationship. So, but that's not even what people are most people are arguing for anyway. It's not saying that she should do this for me. She should act this way to me. It's she should want to act the way that I want her to act and behave in the way that she should really want me, and she should want to do the things that I want her to do, because that's makes me happy. Like, it's just basics of human relationships. Hey, this person wanted this person wanted this new thing. Say little Timmy, he's turning 10 years old, and he's my son, and he wants a drone for his birthday or something like that. Should I get little Timmy a drone, or should I be, oh no, I hate technology. I ain't getting my dang kids no technology. See, this is where, like, a lot of the just fundamentally people are broken, that they don't understand how relationships work between people. Or they should work. I've seen enough bad relationships between people, between family members and things of that sort, that I know what doesn't work. And what a lot of these people are suggesting in the way that they're behaving about it is what doesn't work, right? That's the fundamental problem. Is I should want to do something good for my son because I love my son, right? And he should want me to want that. That's sort of that mutual. My son should want dad to want to do good things for him and be nice to him and do all these kind of things and everything. Not necessarily nice all the time. I mean, you've got to, anyway, that's a different topic for a different day. But I mean, if as far as, all relationships have a component of this, of I should want to do something for that person, but they want, like, they want me to do, like, I should have, they have this expectation, and I think this is sort of where a lot of the problems lie, is this person wants me to do this, and if I just don't do it, like, I can deny that, and I can do whatever I want to do. That's part of the sacrifice thing, and that's part of what I sacrifice a lot of times. Like, okay, I don't want to do the dishes. I'm not going to say that men should never do the dishes. I'm not going to be the idealist like a lot of people might be. Like, oh, men shouldn't have to do. That's never been my perspective. But I think a lot of these people take some of the like, they should desire to do. I gotta some more. It's not they should do this. It's they should desire. Like, they should have a desire to do things that make me happy, just like that I have a desire to make them happy. That's sort of fundamentally what majority of men who are talking about these issues online, that are complaining about the way that women have been put on such a pedestal, daddy's girl, daddy's princess, and all this kind of stuff, that has ruined a multiple generations of women. That they have, all these kind of simps, online simps. They may post their profile picture online, and they have 10 guys trying to hook up with them. I mean, not that that's relevant necessarily to discussion. Let's just keep it in a husband and wife kind of thing. There should be, men should be able to find someone who should want to do the things that they want them to do in that way. Like, if I want my wife to do something, she should want to do the things that I want her to do, because she loves me and she cares about me. That's how fundamentally relationships should work, and I feel like a lot of them are broken in that way nowadays, and that's why we have a lot of the problems that we are. Is the other person doesn't want to do, and typically it is the woman in modern era. Let me just say, it's not always the dude. There are some scumbag dudes. Sure, I'm not going to play the apologetic game, though. The majority of it is coming from the women who are in these relationships, that they don't feel that they should have to do things that other people want them to do. Oh, you want me to do this? I'm not going to do it. I'm going to actively deny that. Oh, he wants to sleep with me. He's my husband. I should actively try to deny that. I've seen that in some adult relationships, how that's happened with people, that and that's comes down to some problems with insecurities within themselves and other issues that are underlying. But a lot of it is just these women who have this sense of entitlement, that they think that they should never do anything that someone else wants them to do, and that by giving in to that sort of desiring this man and doing the things that he wants. What if I just did the things that I want to do, and drug him along, and I bossed him around and I ran this man? That would be more fun to me. And that's where a lot of them end up, because they don't want to want the best for their spouse, for their like women being married to husband. I do think that there are a lot of guys who they do want to do the best, and they want to do things that their wife wants them to do. I do too. I do this a lot. Just I give up so much, and she doesn't think of anything of it because she doesn't view it from that perspective of like, well, I wanted to do this, but she wants me to want to do this, so I'm going to do it. And I may not be the happiest person about it. That may be part of my demeanor. I'm not necessarily always happy. Oh, I got to do this again. Oh man. But in reality, I'm still going to do some of those things. The only thing that I ask is that it be reciprocated, and that's what a lot of men are asking. And just by asking that question of like, hey, shouldn't women, and especially married men having wives, shouldn't my wife want to do the things that make me happy? At least when it's not just when it conveniences them, but when it inconveniences them is the most important time. Like, hey, why don't you want good things for me? That's how, just fundamentally how it should be. Is that wives should want to do things that their husband wants them to do, because not necessarily because they get anything out of it. But you will. That's the funny thing is you get more of what you want by like at least from a woman's perspective. You want him to do the things that you want him to do, then do something that he wants you to do. Like it's not rocket surgery. It's really not. Like, people are really overcomplicating this. They're really making it way more difficult than it has to be. You should desire to do things that the other person wants you to do sometimes, and that's not a bad thing. I don't understand what became what made it a bad thing. But so there was another post. I may post it up. A lot of people are trying to play the middle on this. I don't see what the point of playing the middle. Clearly what we've done is we've defected to the woman's perspective in the modern era, and now we're trying to reconcile with that. And a lot of men are just saying, well, hey, I don't that isn't going to fly for me. And because they're saying that, they're getting raked over the coals, because you have to get in line with this sort of feminine primary order. That's kind of what this boils down to is it's instructing, like it's defecting to the feminine primary order. But let's just read it. I don't want to necessarily. This isn't like calling anyone out, but this is just another post that's with similar sentiments that doesn't fundamentally understand what the issue is. So there's a post talking about like marriage and about is marriage giving up. A marriage is giving up a lot, but it's not necessarily giving up on life. It's not giving up on anything in that sense. It's something. It's supposed to be giving of yourself to the other to be one unified one unified basically being. Like, y'all are together. Like, you two have joined together. You joined all your stuff and yourselves to be with that other person. So it says marriage is a commitment to working with another person for the rest of your lives. Most people today don't think they should have to endure hardship or strife with their partner, that it should always be easy. That is not what people are saying. They're simply saying that when times are difficult and when you endure the hardship, that the other person has your back and that they believe in you to be supportive enough to want the best for you and to want some of the things that you want. That's sort of what it should be. There should be a synthesis of the wants of both individuals. of the man and the woman. What do you want together? What do you want? What do you want? Take some of that and with some of his with some of hers and put it together, and that should be what y'all are. Oh, I want kids. Well, I also want kids. So okay, that's a good starting point. Well, I want this and I want that. That should also be put together. That those are, and then there may be some things. Well, I want this, and I don't want that. But okay, well, I'll compromise that for this. That there should be a lot of this sort of back and forth of, um, I want things for my kids, and I can't. They can't always fulfill that. But hey, I just keep trying, and I want them to. Okay, I want my kids to be successful in something, and it doesn't necessarily be like okay, well, do they have to be successful in sports? Do they have to be? No, I just want them to have successful and happy life. That just means in whatever, and I can help them in whatever way that I can. I'll do my best. But it goes on. You see this in the feminist rhetoric of a sensitive man, a man who caters to their needs and fulfills their every whim with no argument because they are a woman. And that's just the fundamental, that's the primary order of modern day. It fulfills all the roles of what women expect men to do and what men expect to have to do. Oh yeah, happy wife, happy life. And this is where I take issue, though. You also see it in the red pill submissive woman talk, that no man wants a woman who will argue with him, berate him, or nag him. They don't want a strong, difficult, or intelligent woman. No, because that's not why we are you strong? Okay, are you difficult's a deal breaker. Difficult is a problem. Strong and intelligent, though, I do kind of want a woman who's strong and intelligent in some ways, because I don't want a woman who's falling apart all the time, and I do want a woman who's competent enough to whenever I'm trying to explain things, that she isn't just like, like I said, maybe if she was so unintelligent that she would just say, okay, yes, honey. Maybe that's where what she's thinking. It's not that I don't want to, I appreciate that my wife is a smart woman, but the problem is that sometimes smart women will think that they're smarter than their husband, and this is where it causes a problem. Like, okay, well, I know better than you, and this is something that has been a point of conflict when I know better, or I know more, or I'm intelligible, or I just have a belief about something, and then it comes into question because smart woman, whatever, and this is just one of those things. And being submissive is not necessarily like what people take that word to mean now, is like a phrase out of adult conversation, right? They take it out of, hey, this is submissive. Oh, well, that, what that means. She does everything he wants her to do. That's what people derive it from, and not necessarily like what it actually means is that she should want to do the things that you want her to do. And that's fundamentally what I've been talking about this entire video, is just ideally both parties, men and women that get involved in relationships, should want to do what the other person wants you to do to some degree. Now, there are varying degrees. Some people don't want to do a lot of the things that the other person has in mind, and that's fine. I just think that you have to you have to have some way to filter it out and to manage it, or have some sort of synthesis of both of what you want. If I want my wife to be happy and not nagging me, she should also want me to help and do these things or whatever. If both of those things kind of go together, then it makes for a really good and happy relationship. And I'm not saying I'm good at that. I'm not saying I'm perfect at that. I know what it takes for that, and I feel like that I do a lot of that because I sacrifice a lot out of myself, because I don't do a lot of the things that I would want to do. I have to do a lot of things that my son wants me to do. I'm sacrificing for on his behalf, and sometimes that gets taken for granted, and that's where a lot of the problems lie. Is where a lot of this kind of comes in, is this sort of taking men's actions primarily for granted. This is why young men are opting out. This is why young men don't want to do that. It's not like just, they want a submissive woman who never talks back to them. Yeah, we don't want arguing. We don't want berating. We don't want nagging. No man wants that. We want someone who will synthesize our wants and needs alongside hers in a good mutual bond. That is what men and women should both want. Women should not want to nag their husband, because they should want him to never be angry at her, right? Like that should be sort of a mutual thing. I'm not going to nag him because I don't want him to yell at me. And I shouldn't berate him because I don't want him to be upset with me. It should be, I want to provide value and input to the other person, just like the other person is going to provide input and value for me. And I think that's where a lot of these relationships have problems, is just one side, or sometimes both. Like one side maybe does, and maybe one side, or it could be both sides. But I do think, generally speaking, that there is a level of entitlement and privilege that a lot of women in modern society have, where if they do something wrong and their husband holds them accountable, then they can run to their friends or their family, like their mama, and that person will validate their experience and validate their feelings, and all of a sudden it's his fault, right? It's all his fault, big fat meanie. And that's sort of where a lot of these problems lies, is instead of confronting them with the fact, hey, maybe, especially from the parenting perspective, parents of daughters, make sure that you don't just tell her to hold the man accountable. Hold her accountable too. Both parties should be accountable in the relationship. It's not a one-way street. But that, unfortunately, that's what a lot of parents are doing, especially of girls. Like, if you have daughters, a lot of parents of daughters will say, moms or dads sometimes, daddy's princess would never, how dare he do that? I'll whoop his butt. He ought to do what you say every time, all the time, without question. That's sort of what the daddy's princess kind of thing does, as well as sort of the, mommy's daughter, you tell him, girl, now we're like girlfriends, now that you're grown up, so you go tell him that you ain't gonna put up with this, you ain't gonna deal with this kind of stuff. That is a lot of the problem. It's not necessarily like, a lot of these guys are just helpless. Tell your dad that, like, I would just love for women to see this perspective of like a dude tell your dad, well, I'm having problems with a wife. She's not quite doing what I expected out of her. Like, I expected her to, want to do these things for me and try to help me become a better person and do these things. Well, son, you gotta, happy wife, happy life. You gotta do the right by her, and then maybe she'll do the right things for you, and maybe y'all love each other and live happy ever after. That is the man's experience. That is a man's experience in a nutshell for you. There is never ever going to be a son talking to his father and the father say, well, hold her feet to the fire and she hold her accountable, because women are not allowed to have that accountability. And that is why that men are focusing on this as an issue for like that's why men are focusing on this as an issue about, hey, maybe the women should be accountable in these relationships, because they've been told and informed for a couple generations now that they do not have to have any sort of culpability with what it is that they're doing, their behavior. And that's the fundamental flaw. It's not like a lot of these guys, they're bending over backwards and doing all this kind of stuff, crazy, insane things to try to make sure that the women are happy, and that's not how this should work. As I've stated previously in this video, it should be a synthesis of both people of wanting to do things that the other person wants them to do. And if that synthesis ever happens, then that's when you have a happy and healthy relationship. Until then, I think we're just going to have a lot of broken people, because a lot of these women just they aren't held accountable by their parents, because their parents tell them that they walk on water, and that's and because you, as a man, I'm saying that I will probably get comments from women or whatever. I will probably get comments about it saying that is that is a bad thing, that I'm a some kind of beta male or something, that bro, if you can't handle the woman, blah blah blah, this kind of stuff. It's like, well, that's not how all this functions, and especially like some or even the alternative side, like not just beta man is like, well, have you prayed enough and done all the right things? It's like, well, dude, like I promise you, I try a lot, but it's just that so many women are just being told that they walk on water, and regardless of what guy you are, you're going to run into this, that the woman has been told from birth that she walks on water, and that nothing she does is wrong. Almost every single woman has been told this, that they walk on water, they never do any wrong, that they should never be accountable for any of their actions, and because of that, they behave in the way that they do, and it's going to be your responsibility, and that's when you're going to encounter this. And I really, really do hope that some of these guys run into some of these problems. Maybe they get divorced and then they shut up about this. I I don't wish the best for my enemies, for people who become my enemies. Not saying any of the people necessarily are my enemies. That's a long one. I don't know. Anyway, so long story short, the battle of the sexes. Men and women should synthesize what they want for the other person to want. They want the other person to want to do these things, and that's part of desiring another person, and that should be a fundamental core foundational piece of a relationship. It's not about anything else. I mean, you should want to do things that the other person wants you to do in some way. And that's where a lot of it, just comes down to. That's all I have for this. Hopefully you got something out of it. Long freaking video, but I feel like a lot of that got that off my chest, and a lot of it needed to be said, because a lot of these people just think that, hey, I can get away with saying all this kind of nonsense stuff and blaming all the men for all the world's problems, just like the left does. and then they try to act like they're not a leftist or some kind of subversive type, somebody causing problems. But maybe that gives you an insight on how I actually feel about it, because I like I said, I'm not some sort of man supremacist or anything like guys should just dominate and blah blah bro. No, I'm not like that kind of guy. I mean, if I was, I'd probably be just over here punching the holes through the walls like, oh, dudes rock, dudes are the best, women suck, He-Man, woman hater club. Oh man. But yeah, that's all I have for this. Hopefully it was something that maybe helped you, but now time to go cough my brains out. And hope you have a nice day. This is Trey from Trey's Think Tank, signing out.